This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Larrabee. Tonight, we'll be looking into our second module of Positive Social Relations for Youth. In submodule 2, we'll be looking at what can happen when behaviors exceed or do not meet expectations. But first, a little bit of review and then looking ahead. In submodule 1, what we expect from you as a cadet, we learned about the following topics: the aims of the cadet program, positive team dynamics and core leadership qualities of a cadet, conduct and discipline in the cadet program, and a full value contract based on positive team dynamics and core leadership qualities of a cadet. All of that information can be found on our unit website or through our unit YouTube page, where all of that was recorded. In submodule 2, what can happen when behavior exceeds or does not meet expectation, we'll be discussing rewards and recognition in the cadet program, impact, not intent, and misconduct to include procedures to follow, corrective measures, and consequences. First, let's talk about rewards and recognition in our program.
In Submodule 1, Positive Team Dynamics and the core leadership qualities of a cadet were introduced and discussed. Team dynamics and leadership qualities are things that people strive for in order to become better citizens and leaders. The cadet program promotes character development and values the development of inter- and intrapersonal skills.
So the positive team dynamics are: follow the team leader, include all participants, encourage team members, contribute to team morale and esprit de corps, contribute to the accomplishment of team goals, contribute to group discussions, trust the team, support team members, appreciate the team, and celebrate team success. And we will go into what some of those mean in the future. But for now, let's talk about the 11 core leadership qualities of a cadet, which include the following. So these are just words until we actually put them into practice. For now, let's get to know the words, and then we'll put them into practice in the future. So the 11 core leadership qualities of a cadet are honesty, dependability, loyalty, being collaborative, determined, a sense of courage, being analytical, positive, respectful, considerate, and sympathetic. So these are just words, remember, until we put them into practice. We need to know them and then actually use them.
One aim of the cadet program that relates to building positive social relations is to develop in youth the attributes of good citizenship and leadership. The aim further states, citizenship. Cadets develop an understanding of and appreciation for community membership and involvement within cadet, local, regional, provincial, national, and global communities. Inherent in this membership is an acceptance of and respect for multiculturalism within Canada and the world. Through their active involvement, cadets will have a positive impact on local communities, contributing to community strength and vibrancy. Leadership. In this peer-led program, cadets develop interpersonal skills and assume responsibility as effective team members. leaders, and dynamic coaches that conduct themselves in an ethical and socially responsible way. Cadets will have many opportunities to receive rewards or recognition for meeting or exceeding expectations set out in the cadet program. Some cadets may receive formal or informal rewards and/or recognition at the local corps or squadron or from sponsors, leagues, and CSTCs. Rewards and/or recognition may also be received from the national level. Rewards: return for service or merit, requital for goodness. Types of rewards include tangible items such as badges, promotions, certificates, trophies, etc. Recognition: to notice, validate, acknowledge, honor, and support. Types of recognition usually include intangible items such as praise, encouragement, commendation, compliments, an honor, congratulations, or thanks for doing something. Rewards, a tangible item, are sometimes given as representations of the intangible things, such as a learned or developed skill as a form of recognition. They are awarded to the cadets who have exceeded expectations for doing something. The most powerful forms of recognition, however, do not come from receiving a tangible item, but come in the form of a compliment, a pat on the back, or encouragement from superiors or peers. Recognition by superiors or peers is just as important as a tangible reward, as it shows the cadet is doing something well and is being encouraged to keep up the good work. Although receiving a particular reward or some form of recognition is gratifying, self-motivation is important as you move through the cadet program and through life. There will not always be someone around to congratulate you, encourage you, or notice you for doing something well.
Okay, I believe we have a question. What is your question, Cadet?
So on the first 11 core pages, no, the second one, I mean, the first one, I'm not sure what that one meant, the first word.
On the first?
No, the other one.
On the other one, okay.
I think one down. That first one in there.
Analytical?
Yeah.
Okay, so analytical means to look at a situation and then think about the possibilities of what may happen if you were to choose certain ways of going about it. If you went into a scenario, a scenario we saw last week, you were here last week, and you saw the warrant officer or the flight sergeant and the cadet who was speaking out of turn. So there was a few to approach that situation. So the flight sergeant had to think about the proper words and what might have been the motivation behind the cadet talking out. So that's being analytical, thinking about it before we talk, and then choosing what we think is the best way to go about making the best of a situation. Does that make more sense?
Yep, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. Going to move on. We're going to talk about intrinsic motivation. Just as a side note, having joined already this program is a sign of motivation for wanting to become a better citizen, a better person, or even a better leader. So maybe you have some motivation that brought you here because you have a curiosity to explore one of the dynamics of those possible situations. So intrinsic motivation, what is it? Motivation that comes from inside an individual rather than from an external source or outside reward, such as money or grades. So you do something because you want to do it. You feel good about it, and that's why you went out and you did it. So if you really like gardening and you planted a garden, then it's because you wanted to plant a garden. Nobody told you to go do it. You just felt self-motivated. If you go and get a video game and play that video game, then you wanted to go and get it. There's nothing more than just the enjoyment of playing the game. So that's intrinsic motivation.
Having joined cadets is already a sign of motivation for wanting to become a better citizen, a better person, or a better leader. Intrinsic motivation is triggered by many sources, such as working towards personally meaningful goals, a challenge, something in the physical environment that attracts the learner's attention, curiosity, having a tendency to control what happens to them, control, feeling satisfaction by comparing their performance favorably to that of others, competition, and feeling satisfaction by helping others achieve their goals, cooperation.
Okay, we're going to skip over the activity and we'll talk about formal rewards and recognition. So many formal rewards and recognition are present at formal ceremonies such as our annual ceremonial review, or ACR, and other special parades and events. Our ACR is a graduation parade that we hold every single year. It involves every single cadet and officer, and it highlights what you did all year. You get to show off your drill, you get to show off maybe a model airplane you built. I've seen squadrons where they have a band or a drill team that comes out in the very middle and they show off what they've been working on all year. So that is what an annual ceremonial review is. Examples of formal rewards or recognition given for meeting or exceeding expectations in the cadet program are, we're going to use the word squadron for ours, but corps would apply to an Army cadet or Sea Cadet unit. So those are corps, and we're an Air Cadet squadron. So our squadron opportunities may include trophies, plaques, certificates, promotions, badges, and then we also have our sponsor or league opportunities. So our sponsor is a group of people outside of the military aspect of our program. The sponsor is at our local level, so they're, maybe your parents, parents join, or people who are very interested in making sure that we do really well. So that's our local sponsor. And the league is the Air Cadet League that actually owns all the airplanes that we have. So they have some rewards and recognition that may include medals, trophies, plaques, certificates, and sometimes even bursaries and scholarships. So we do have scholarships in our program. The CSTC, or Cadet Summer Training Center opportunities. So these are when we go away for the summer for our summer camps. We have advanced training, awards, and the Army, Navy, Air Force Veterans Association medal given to the top cadet on a senior course. And then at the national level, we have opportunities that include national courses, advanced specialty courses, scholarship courses, or international exchanges. So we have courses like our glider pilot and power pilot courses. Those would be scholarship courses. And we have international exchanges all over the world. And then we have advanced specialty courses, and I believe they're reintroducing even an aircraft mechanics course, which is pretty cool. So we have a lot of opportunities for rewards and recognition. Informal rewards and recognition may occur at the local squadron and may continue on a more frequent basis throughout the year. Examples of informal rewards or recognition given for meeting or exceeding expectations in the cadet program may include public recognition. So we call your name out at the end of the night. A commendation, maybe from the commanding officer. A prize, like a sticker, pin, squadron paraphernalia, like a backpack or a watch that has our logo on it. Special privileges, like trips that we go on. assuming a special role, could be on parade or even during the training night. Some corps or squadrons have Cadet of the Week, or participating in a special activity like a pizza party. Okay, we're going to move on from rewards and recognition, and we're going to talk about impact, not intent. So some of you may have heard this as impact versus intent, but it's what we do and how was it interpreted. I didn't mean it that way. That's the impact, not your intent.
Choices made through actions and words can have a great impact, positive or negative, on a person. It is the impact, not intent, of these choices on others that is key. Some of the intended participant outcomes of the cadet program are to display positive personal qualities and social competence. Social competence, the manner in which one consistently responds to other individuals, expects other individuals to respond to oneself, and the interaction with members of groups sharing one's social address, as well as with members of groups different than one's own. This includes the ability to contribute as an effective team member, accept personal accountability for actions and choices, exercise sound judgment, and demonstrate effective interpersonal communication skills. An example of impact, not intent, would be one cadet constantly calling another cadet a Herbie because they're new to the cadet program. The cadet may feel hurt because they want to be included and the nickname is not very welcoming, but the intent was to show inclusion or being new. It is the impact on the victim that is important, not the intent of the action toward the victim.
Okay, we're going to look at some video scenarios now. These scenarios will be very focused on impact versus intent. And the objective of the video is to show cadets how the impact of a situation is more important than the intent. So in our first video, we'll be in a coat room at a local corps. It'll be a Sea Cadet Corps.
So I didn't feel really comfortable in my old swimsuit, so I got a new one. Can I show you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's fine. Just throw a t-shirt over it and it'll be great.
Kathy feels hurt because she expected her friend to say something encouraging about how she looks.
Okay, so we saw the scenario. Let's ask some questions now. Do you think Able Cadet Jones may have felt the statement made was a rude comment or a helpful suggestion? It's a tough one. You have to put yourself in the position. You may turn your mic on, absolutely.
I think it would be helpful because it might be something that she wouldn't be allowed to wear and could be showing too much that could be inappropriate.
Yes, that's a great way to look at that. We do have certain uniform regulations, so everybody looks exactly the same, and there are certain things that may look or be out of standard for our unit or for the cadet program in general. So it could have been a helpful suggestion, absolutely. Any other feelings on this one? Yes, go ahead.
I personally think that it's how the person basic. I think it could be a helpful suggestion, but I could also see it as being a rude comment. It depends on how the person meant it to be. Because the victim could take it two ways. One is a helpful comment and another suggestion, but I do agree with what the person said before me. It could be something inappropriate, but it also could just be a normal bathing suit or a uniform that they're just insulting.
Absolutely. Yes. So we're really touching on what it actually is, because even though it might have been meant as a helpful suggestion, what Able Cadet Jones felt may have been, oh, that felt really rude. Absolutely. If we're doing questions, feel free to turn your mics on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So like the way she said it, it didn't seem like it meant like it was like a rude comment. I think like the tone that she used was like a nice one, like a helpful one.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. It didn't seem like she was trying to be rude. She just said something, and it was meant to be part of, oh yeah, well, should be fine as long as you just add this to it. So it was just a friend to a friend. There wasn't any malice behind it. It wasn't meant to be mean. So yes, excellent work.
It could have also been out of jealousy. Your friend could have wanted that one too, but instead of them both getting it, her friend could have just got it instead.
Her friend could have got it instead, and in that case, it was meant as probably a rude comment to make them feel uncomfortable, so that the jealousy went across. So we're really kind of getting into the psyche of these characters. Absolutely. Body language, yes, we talked about tone a little bit. So I feel like these are all really good ideas going on here. And Flight Corporal Lewis, this was meant as a helpful comment, but as humans, we usually take it mean rude. Yes. So we so oftentimes misunderstand what somebody was trying to say to us. We take it too personal. Absolutely, Marco. Like, oh, we overanalyze. We're over analytical, and there's that word again. It's part of our leadership core, but we're analytical about the situation, and we think about it, and then all of a sudden, oh, I think it was rude. So although your answers may vary according to our program, perhaps Able Cadet Jones felt that her friend was thinking she should wear a t-shirt because she was fat or looked ugly or weird. So Able Cadet Jones may be feeling a little self-conscious now about the bathing suit and maybe about her body. She's developing and growing, and she's not quite confident. So yeah, super harsh. Okay. Let's look at the second question. How might you have spoken to Able Cadet Jones to encourage her about her appearance? Life is harsh, like Corporal Lewis. Sometimes you got to roll with the punches. But let's treat Able Cadet Jones as a person with really strong feelings. We know her. She's part of our core. We get that she's a little self-confident. So let's approach her in a different manner now. So how would you encourage her?
I would probably say the same thing, like one of the comments said, but explain why I would say it and say like I was trying to like support you and not make other people make fun of you if you ever go out and do something.
Yeah, that's great. Give a little backstory to it. It seemed like her friend was a little bit rushed and kind of glanced over. Oh yeah, sure, that's great with the shirt, but maybe given a little more time, a little more explanation. Yeah, I think it's great. If you throw a shirt on, it'd be perfect because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah, yeah, you could be just super nice about it. So yeah, just choose your words really think about the situation. Think about how your friend would feel, how another person at the unit would feel, or even how you would feel if somebody said something like that to you. What would you want the person to say? There we go. So perhaps the friend should have said, why do you feel uncomfortable about wearing your swimsuit? We think you look just fine. You're too hard on yourself. So sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know, I can't really do it. It's like, of course you can. You're too hard on yourself. Come on, let's just go do it. So a little friendly encouragement. You look great, you look fine. It doesn't take much, and I'm sure Able Cadet Jones would have felt a little bit better about the situation. So let's dive deeper into the scenario.
Kathy didn't think Lynn would tell her to cover up. Now she really feels that she doesn't look good in her swimsuit. Lynn didn't intend to be mean to her friend. She thought she was just being helpful and making a suggestion.
Okay. So the whole point of that was just a few words, and it hurt somebody's feelings, and they didn't even mean it to. So that's all it was. But the communication there is the biggest part. Communicating what you mean, making sure your point gets across, and that we're being equal, fair, and nice to everyone, and respectful of the situation. Let's look at another scenario about impact versus intent.
Knock, knock.
Cadet Moore likes to tell jokes. He tells them all the time, and he knows a lot of them.
Okay, I've got another one. Okay. A blonde joke. Okay. How many blondes does it take to fly a glider?
How many?
Sticks and stones. Yes, absolutely, LAC Marco. Sticks and stones may hurt, but words last a lot longer. So we just saw a few air cadets, and they're telling some jokes around the canteen area, and it looks like a flight sergeant overheard them. So they're not part of the conversation, they're not part of the joke, it doesn't apply to them, but they overheard it. So what do you think the cadet's intent in telling the jokes? Why do you think he told it?
I think that probably because he was intending something else, not to make them laugh or anything. I think they were trying to make fun of some people or something like that.
He's just telling a joke, right? To make them laugh. Yeah, absolutely. You're both correct. He's not really trying to be mean to anybody. He was, yes, the one telling the joke was blonde. So he's telling a joke about himself. Why would he joke about himself? I think in this case, if we interpret it, he could be talking about a gender-specific joke as well. So, but I like that you took it about, he was telling a joke about himself. So blondes in general, blonde-haired people. But see, now we've heard him say it, and we have different interpretations already, and we haven't even heard whatever the horrible punchline is. You can only tell blonde jokes if you are blonde. I have a really, as a musician that I really like, and he's a bit of an activist, It's very funny. He actually wrote the music to the musical Matilda, and he talks about gingers, and he has a song that he makes fun of gingers in, but he says only a ginger can make fun of another ginger. So it's, you know, that kind of bad feeling about redheads, and he himself is a redhead, so he starts joking about it, and he writes a whole song about it, and it's very funny, but he says at the end that only I can talk about my people. There you go. Yes, yes. Okay, so the cadet was probably seeking attention or just thought he was being funny. Since he has had a lot of success in gaining laughter from his audience, he continued to tell jokes. So he's just trying to get a rise out of people. When telling jokes, should it ever matter if the subject of the joke is present or not? So we're actually touching on it now. He's talking about himself. He himself is blonde. So he's about to make fun of himself in a joke, but he's telling it, should it matter if the subject of the joke is present or not? I love that answer. It should always matter. Yes, it always matters. Doesn't matter who you're saying it to. It doesn't matter where you say it. It always matters. It could be in the privacy of your home, or it could be on a cadet night. It always matters. They're going to disagree with it. No, it should not matter. I think they're getting at the same point, though. Any joke that demeans, belittles, or implies offense to a particular race, group, culture, religion, sex, or etc. is not appropriate at any time. And that's where we were talking about it always matters. Even if the subject is not present, others may take offense for the absent subject. If you have to think twice about telling someone something you may find humorous, it's probably not worth telling. So this is where we have to be analytical again. Keep on bringing up that word analytical. It's part of our leadership ethos. It's part of that who we are as cadets. So we have to think about what we're saying before we say it and how it's going to be interpreted. And that's how we use the analytical part to find out that impact versus intent, and is this what a leader would say or what a leader would do.
Cadet, I've heard a lot of blonde jokes, and they're not appropriate. It's disrespectful.
Sorry, Flight Sergeant. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I'll try to be more careful.
Yeah. Oh man.
Wrong place, wrong time.
There you go. So the flight sergeant came up, and they're not blonde. They're not part of the joke, but it's not even the wrong place. It's just the wrong joke. So that's definitely not one that we need to be telling. It's going to offend people. I wanted to know what the punchline was so we could make we can apply that to. Oh no, Suderman. And did you want to be a pilot? How about this? How many blondes does it take to fly a glider? Only one, and it's Flight Corporal Suderman because he's amazing. That's the punchline of the joke. And it's not a joke. It's an encouragement, because if you want to be a pilot, then there's should be nothing holding you back. Okay, let's move on. We're going to move on to our teaching point 4, which is describe conduct and discipline in the cadet program.
As discussed previously in Submodule 1, Teaching Point 5, describe conduct and discipline in the cadet program. As a member of the cadet program, cadets are expected to conduct themselves in a way which is respectful to themselves and to others. Cadets are to adhere to the regulations, orders, and instructions at all times. If cadets choose to disregard the regulations, orders, and instructions, there may be consequences, such as corrective measures considered. Corrective measures may include administrative and/or disciplinary actions.
Okay, so now we're talking about when our conduct is below what we were expecting. So these are the procedures to follow when we have corrective measures, and what to do when to take when a cadet breaches a regulation. So what do they include? Procedures and the corrective measures to take when a cadet breaches a regulation. So the procedures are to include investigating the alleged misbehavior, conducting the fact-finding process. Yes. Okay, we will continue. So the procedures include investigating the alleged misbehavior, conducting the fact-finding process, consulting with parents, and following the decision-making process. So that's our procedures so far. Most of this is going to be done a bit above your rank level. So this will be an officer doing this, but just so you know how we would approach this, this is what we're going to use to go about finding out what just happened and how we're going to correct it. So after following the procedures, the corrective measures may include a verbal warning, an apology, cautionary notice, assignment of extra duties, written warning, suspension of privileges, cease training, removal of position, suspension of pending promotion, reduction in rank, suspension or return to unit, and or termination of membership. So obviously the second part here is a little more intense than the first part. We started at the very lowest level. So a verbal warning. So depending on what we're talking about, we're going to start at the lowest level. So for instance, the joke that we saw in the last scenario, that was a verbal warning, we'll call that. And then the cadet apologized. So we actually covered off the first two, didn't even need to write anything down, we're fine. So depending on what happens, it could be more intense. I've seen RTUs, or return to unit. So this is when we go away for summer training or we go on a trip somewhere. So you've done something wrong. It's way out of line. It's against regulation. We stop training and you return to the unit, you go home. I've never seen a reduction in rank, but I know that they do happen at other units, and I have seen them happen at camp. So camp is a different beast altogether. And then termination of membership. I've never actually seen a termination of membership, but I've heard of it. So these are big ticket items. We've really gone out of line. There's been a very serious impact here, and serious measures need to be taken into consideration. Okay, we're going to look at a misconduct video scenario. So the objective of this video is to show you how misconduct or misbehavior will lead to consequences. So for this setting, we'll be at a local core storage room and classroom.
Yeah, I didn't feel like going to class. Hey, let's take the whole night off. Yeah.
After being dismissed from opening parade, Kathy, Lynn, and Jennifer decide to skip class and hide in the storage room.
Tompkins.
Sir.
When Lieutenant Green takes roll call in class, he notices the 3 cadets are missing.
Smith. What's going on today?
Okay, so we've got 3 Sea Cadets. They've been dismissed from their opening parade, so they've been marked on the attendance already, and they thought they would skip out on class. And then their phase officer which would be the equivalent of our level officer, is taking attendance in the class, make sure everybody's there, and they seem to be missing, even though they are on the main attendance. So what consequences might be appropriate for this type of misconduct? So we talked about a list of consequences. What do you think should happen to these 3 cadets who are skipping out on class?
Maybe suspension from some things.
Yeah, you could consider a suspension of privileges. Maybe they're going to miss out on something.
A serious written warning or them missing out on something. I don't think. I mean, maybe I don't think they'd get suspended or moved down a rank, but maybe just a verbal warning or them missing out on something.
Yes. Okay. So we have written warning. Definitely, we're looking at perhaps missing out on something. They're definitely getting a talking to, but no, we wouldn't. This is not even close to reduction in rank or suspension of rank, moving up in a rank, or stopping them from participating in the program. So we're not even close to that. This is a very low level thing. I think we're touching on some good answers here. I see warnings that they would need to take up that class. Yes, they need to make up that class. What are they missing? Extra class. Just they learn what they missed. Yeah, it's what we cover is important, especially as we move up. Level 3 and 4, we do have quizzes on things. So if you're not paying attention in class 1 and you get to the quiz, oh no, I missed the material in class 1, have no idea what the answer is, and then you bomb the quiz and you can't move on. So we do have performance checks is what we call them. And those are particularly important. If you're not there, then you miss out.
But I don't think they should miss a class because they've already missed a class.
No, yeah, they shouldn't miss a class. So this would have to be something they'd probably do at home now. So they'd have to take homework, basically. They'd have a little homework, a little reading up to do. So yes, you wouldn't want to miss another class. So all right, on this one, the answers are going to vary. I only have one question for this right now, but I think we're touching on that quite well. Yes.
Sir, if I could interject.
Yes, I paused. You may interject.
So given a scenario like that, if you are doing a bush weekend or a trip on a weekend where your space is limited to the number of cadets, this would certainly impact their attendance on it, whether or not they would be allowed to go.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So that's Captain Yates, our aviation officer, and we do have limited capacity on some of our trips, especially some of our further away trips. We might have limited space on the bus or availability of rations. So something like this could hamper your ability to go on something like that and miss out on some fun opportunities that your peers are going to be talking about. We go to some museums. We do some overnight trips, and especially on the overnight trips, we're going to have limited availability. We do have our flight program. There's limited space when we go to our flying centers. So we want to get up in the air every year, but if you're going to compromise your space like that, then yes, that's potentially one of the things that you might lose out on. Okay, let's look at the conclusion of the roll call scenario.
Cadets! This isn't the first time I've caught the three of you skipping class, or that you've arrived late to class because you've decided to socialize. As a consequence, for at least the next 2 weeks, you will be spending your breaks in the classroom. If your punctuality and attendance improve, you will get your breaks back. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they've had a stern talking to, and they're gonna miss out on their breaks. So they've lost some privileges. So we did talk about losing some privileges, and their officer there is being fairly reasonable and only losing privileges at the unit level, even though this seems to be an offense that's happened more than once. So definitely something to take into account. Has it happened before? Let's look at video scenario number 7.
Leading Air Cadet Timms and Cadet Moore decide it'll be funny to prank their flight mates. While the others are in the washroom getting ready for lights out, the cadets fill some of the beds with shaving cream.
Oh, so we have a shaving cream prank. What consequences might be appropriate for this type of misbehavior? What do you think should happen? Right off the hop, suspension.
Maybe serious talking to?
Serious talking to, yes. At the very beginning of that. Written warning if it's the first time. Laundry duty at camp. Sergeant Sharp, I like where your head's at. It's exactly where I'd get them to be going to. A serious talking to, an apology, and laundry duty. Okay, let's see what's going on then.
What a mess. It's gonna be great.
What's going on here? So on sheet exchange day, the two of you will collect all of the flight's linen. And I'll speak with your flight staff to ensure you make an apology to the cadets you pulled the prank on. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Sharp has a good memory. So yes, last year, that's exactly what happened. We are getting a new program, Sergeant Sharp, so we'll have some new material coming your way. So we saw what happened to them. We're going to move on to scenario number 8, which should be our last scenario.
At a cadet dance, 3 cadets are seen acting obnoxious, talking loudly, and even falling down. Later, another cadet reports to the supervising officer that there's a cadet being sick near the canteen.
Okay. So I think Mark goes on to the first question already. What do you think happened to these cadets to act in this manner? So
They could be drunk or have drinking something that was spiked, but the most likely answer is probably that they're drunk.
they're probably drunk, and they probably did it to themselves, I suspect. But yes, they could have been spiked, or they could be under the influence of drugs, yes. Something that they drank could have been spiked.
I agree with that too.
There are a few answers for this one. I think we've touched on probably the most obvious ones. There you go. Most likely these cadets were drinking at the dance or before coming to the dance. What do you think will happen after the junior cadet reported the incident?
I think they probably get suspension from some things. A written warning, and if it gets worse, probably them talking to their parents.
I absolutely agree with what you just said. Yes, all of those things, talking to their parents for sure. But our very first thing, right after the junior cadet reported the incident, is make sure everybody's safe. In a program, yes, they've made a really dumb mistake, but we need to make sure that everybody is safe. And we know somebody is sick in this scenario, sick in the hallway, so we want to make sure that sick person is okay and they're being taken care of. So let's check on their safety first. So first, the officer should go and check on the cadet who is sick in the classroom and make sure they are okay. So we want to make sure that first and foremost that everybody is safe, and we're gonna probably round them up and get them to a spot where we can then have a chat with them. Okay, what do you think the junior cadet should do after reporting the incident? So this is you say, hey, a few of my friends, they're acting like they're drunk. I think they are drunk. You've reported it to the officer. What would you do next?
I'd probably go see if they're okay, if anything's wrong.
Okay, you're making sure that your buddies are okay, they're safe. I like the safety first.
Yeah, I would go see if they're okay, and after that, if they were okay, I'd probably go back to doing what I was doing.
Yes, absolutely. That's the same answer as Sergeant Sharp there. Continue what you were doing. I see that in the chat. Absolutely. After you've reported it, the officer and the adult staff that are there, they're going to make sure that your buddies are safe. You should go back to doing what you were doing. Hang out with your friends who are following the rules and have a good time. You've done your part. You've given your statement, and now you can go back to the dance and enjoying it. So the junior cadet should just report the incident to the supervising officer and leave it at that. They should not go back to the dance and gossip about what they saw and spread further rumors about what they witnessed. It is important that the incident be kept at the lowest level of severity and that not brew into something much bigger or more severe than warranted. False statements and rumors are easily started and spread in this way and could lead to a much bigger problem. So you've done your diligence, you've said your part, go back to doing your thing. It's going to be taken care of. Parents are definitely going to be called to pick up their cadets, and there'll be interviews with the commanding officer and their command team. So don't worry about that part. You've already said your bit, and you get to move on, and don't worry about them.
Lieutenant Wright finds a very sick-looking cadet. The cadet is feeling pretty ashamed.
Who brought the beer? Spencer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're not going back to the dance. I'm gonna call your parents to ask them to come and pick you up. The next parade night, the three of you, with your parents, you're gonna meet the CO with me, and we're gonna discuss what the consequences are at that meeting.
Okay, so exactly like we said, we made sure they were safe. They were taken aside out of the dance. We made sure they were okay, and then their parents were being called. They're going home, and on parade night the following week, they're going to meet with the CO, the commanding officer, with their parents. So it looks like, yeah, it definitely looks like someone's losing a friend. Definitely some consequences coming their way, and they'll be a little bit higher up the chain than what we saw earlier with those verbal warnings. Okay, we are going to conclude submodule 2.
It is important for you to learn about what can happen if your behaviors exceed or do not meet expectations, so that you may experience more success in the cadet program, make positive contributions to the community, and become more successful in your day-to-day life and in your interactions with others. Throughout this submodule, you have been made aware of what can happen when behaviors exceed or do not meet cadet program expectations.
So we looked at submodule 2, we've gone over the good, we've gone over the bad, and we've gone over things that we didn't mean. In submodule 3, in a further lesson that you'll have with me somewhere down the line in this training year, we will look at what harassment is, criminal offenses, and child abuse, and where you can go for help. In submodule 3, the topics will be definitions and examples of harassment, definitions and examples of criminal offenses, definitions and examples of child abuse, where you can go for help, and when you should go for help. This concludes submodule 2. Thank you all for participating. That's the end of the lesson.